at a major zoological park, the largest and most impressive serpent in the entire facility. An 18-foot-long green anaconda had mysteriously stopped eating. For weeks, she lay motionless in her enclosure, a strange, hard bulge distorting her massive body. The zoo's chief veterinarian, suspecting a life-threatening intestinal blockage, rushed the giant snake to the on-site hospital for an emergency X-ray. But when the haunting black and white image appeared on the screen, revealing what was trapped inside the anaconda's stomach, the medical mystery instantly transformed into a criminal investigation. What began as routine veterinary care became a story of shocking negligence and a dark secret that would lead to the immediate arrest of one of the zoo's most trusted keepers. This is the true story of how a single X-ray exposed a catastrophic failure that cost an innocent animal its life, destroyed a career, and revealed just how quickly everything can go wrong when safety protocols are ignored. What was discovered inside that snake shocked everyone in the room and triggered a chain of events that no one could have predicted. The story begins on a Monday morning when the zoo's chief veterinarian, a woman named Dr. Sarah Mitchell, received an urgent call from the senior keeper of the reptile house, a man named Tom Bradley. He reported that Bella, the 18-foot anaconda, had not eaten for 3 weeks and had become alarmingly lethargic. Dr. Mitchell immediately went to the reptile house. The moment she laid eyes on the massive serpent, she could clearly see the unusual hard bulge distorting its midsection. Dr. Mitchell, a leading expert in herpetological medicine with over 2 decades of experience treating exotic reptiles, knew the situation was critical. A bulge like this could signal an intestinal blockage, a tumor, or an undigested meal inside the snake. Bella needed an emergency X-ray. Found in the swamps and slow-moving rivers of the Amazon basin, the anaconda is the heaviest and most powerful snake in the world. A large female can grow to over 20 feet long and weigh more than 500 pounds, making them true giants of the reptile world. These creatures are masters of ambush predation, spending most of their time submerged in murky water with only their eyes and nostrils breaking the surface, waiting patiently for their prey. When an unsuspecting animal, like a capybara or a deer, comes to the water's edge to drink, the anaconda strikes with explosive speed. It does not attack with venom like a cobra or rattlesnake. Instead, it coils its massive muscular body around its victim in a process called constriction. But the anaconda's most incredible feature is its ability to consume prey that seems impossibly large. The snake's jaw is not fused at the chin like ours, but is connected by a series of elastic ligaments, allowing it to unhinge and stretch to an unbelievable degree. This remarkable adaptation allows the snake to swallow prey whole, even animals that are significantly wider than the snake's own head. After such a massive meal, an anaconda's metabolism slows to a crawl, and it can go for weeks, sometimes even months, without needing to eat again. This slow metabolism and infrequent feeding schedule are a completely normal part of the snake's life cycle. But at the Riverside Zoo, the refusal of their prize anaconda, a magnificent female named Bella, to eat for over 3 weeks, combined with a strange new bulge in her stomach, was a sign that something was terribly wrong. Healthy anacondas may fast for extended periods, but they do not develop rock-hard bulges in their midsections. Something was inside Bella that should not be there, and it was threatening her life. Marcus Green, another senior keeper who worked in the reptile house, had noticed the problem first. He watched Bella carefully, getting more worried as the days passed. What Marcus did not know yet was that 3 weeks earlier, on a rushed Friday evening, a terrible mistake had been made. But right now, standing in front of Bella's tank on this Monday morning, all he could see was a sick snake that desperately needed help. Marcus picked up the phone and called Dr. Rebecca Hayes, another veterinary specialist at the zoo. Dr. Hayes had been working with reptiles for over 20 years, treating everything from tiny geckos to massive pythons. The moment she saw Bella, she knew this was an emergency. The anaconda lay completely still, her breathing slow and labored. The bulge in her midsection was enormous, stretching her scaly skin tight. Dr. Hayes carefully felt around the area with experienced hands. The object inside was rock solid, completely unyielding to the touch. They needed to get Bella to the zoo's medical center for an X-ray immediately. The massive snake was carefully transported to the veterinary facility and positioned on the large X-ray machine. The zoo's director and a reptile specialist from the state university, who had been called in to consult on the unusual case, gathered with Dr. Mitchell in the control room. The first scans they attempted using an ultrasound were inconclusive. The object inside the snake was too dense for the sound waves to penetrate effectively. The X-ray was their last best hope of seeing what was actually inside Bella's stomach. When the technician activated the X-ray machine and the image began to appear on the screen, a collective, stunned gasp filled the room. Dr. Mitchell stared at the screen, her face turning pale with shock and a dawning, sickening sense of horror. Inside the snake's stomach, they could see the unmistakable, high-domed, star-patterned shell of a large tortoise. The distinctive, radiant pattern on the shell was clearly visible on the X-ray. Everyone in that room knew with absolute certainty that there was only one type of tortoise at their zoo, with that distinctive, radiant shell pattern. It was one of their critically endangered radiated tortoises from Madagascar. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like so YouTube can recommend it to even more people. Tap the hype button right below if you're watching on your phone. The Greenwood Zoo had only 5 of these critically endangered animals from Madagascar, which were kept in a special enclosure adjacent to Bella's exhibit. Heavy locked doors and strict safety rules completely separated the two areas. There was no way a tortoise could accidentally end up in the anaconda's tank unless someone made a terrible mistake. Dr. Hayes grabbed the phone with trembling hands. Her voice was steady, but grim as she called the zoo director back to the medical center. "You need to come here right now," she said urgently, "and bring the head of security with you. We have a major problem that goes far beyond veterinary medicine." When the zoo director arrived and saw the X-ray image displayed on the screen, his expression shifted from confusion to shock to anger in a matter of seconds. He turned to look at Marcus Green, who had been standing silently in the corner of the room the whole time, watching the unfolding disaster. "Marcus," the director said slowly, his voice carefully controlled, "think very carefully about your answer. When was the last time you personally checked on the radiated tortoises in their enclosure?" Marcus's face turned bright red. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again. Something was not right here. The director could see it clearly in Marcus's eyes. He was hiding something, or he knew something he was not saying. "Get me the security footage from the past 3 weeks." The director ordered the head of security. "All of it. Every single recording. I want to see every closing shift that involved the reptile house, and I want particular attention paid to any footage involving the tortoise and anaconda enclosures. To understand why this discovery was so devastating, we need to understand what a radiated tortoise actually is. Native only to a small arid region in the south of the island of Madagascar. This is one of the most beautiful tortoises in the world, known for its high-domed carapace, or shell, which is adorned with brilliant yellow lines radiating outward from the center of each dark plate. creating a stunning starburst pattern. But beyond their beauty, the radiated tortoise is one of the most critically endangered animals on the entire planet. The species population in the wild has been decimated by habitat loss and, most significantly, by the dark and brutal illegal pet trade. Poachers capture these beautiful creatures by the thousands, smuggling them out of Madagascar to be sold on the black market to wealthy, unscrupulous collectors around the world who care nothing for conservation. For conservationists and reputable zoos, every single radiated tortoise represents a priceless genetic treasure, a vital part of a global breeding program that may be the species' only realistic hope for survival in the modern world. The Riverside Zoo was one of the proud and dedicated participants in this international program. Their small but healthy population of these tortoises was the pride of their reptile house and represented years of careful conservation work. The medical mystery had instantly become an internal investigation with potentially criminal implications. How was it physically possible for a slow-moving, land-based tortoise to end up in the enclosure of a massive semi-aquatic snake? The two habitats were adjacent, but separated by a series of heavy locked doors and protocols designed specifically to prevent exactly this kind of horrific incident. The only logical explanation was a catastrophic failure of protocol, a case of gross human negligence. And there was only one person on duty with access to both enclosures during the critical time period, the senior keeper, Tom Bradley. The zoo security team worked quickly, pulling up all the footage from the reptile house over the past 3 weeks. The director, Dr. Mitchell, the head of security, and several senior staff members gathered in the security office. As they spooled through the hours of silent black and white video, the full, infuriating, and tragic story revealed itself frame by frame. The footage from Friday evening, exactly 3 weeks before Bella stopped eating, showed the senior keeper, Bradley, clearly rushing through his end-of-day closing procedures. He was seen glancing at his watch repeatedly, his movements hasty and careless. He secured the main doors to the reptile house, checking them quickly and superficially. But in his rush to leave for the weekend, he made a catastrophic error that would cost an animal its life. The camera captured him, approaching the radiated tortoise enclosure. He glanced inside briefly, then moved to close and lock the heavy door. But the footage showed clearly that he failed to properly secure the heavy-duty lock on the enclosure. The lock appeared to catch, but it had not fully engaged. Bradley gave it only the most cursory check before moving on to his next task. A few minutes later, the footage showed him making a second, equally disastrous mistake. He also failed to fully latch the secondary lock on the anaconda's massive enclosure door. Several hours later, deep in the dead of night, when the zoo was closed and no staff members were present, the security camera captured the huge Bella moving near the improperly secured door of her enclosure. The snake's incredible strength allowed her to slowly and patiently push against the door until it swung open. She slithered out into the main corridor of the reptile house, her massive body moving with surprising grace and silence. The camera then captured Bella approaching the unlocked tortoise enclosure. Without any obstacle or barrier to stop her, she slipped inside through the improperly secured door. The camera did not have the angle to capture what happened next in the darkness of that enclosure. But the X-ray image in Dr. Mitchell's lab told the rest of that story with perfect clarity. One of the zoo's precious radiated tortoises had become prey. Despite the protective shell, the snake's powerful coils had been sufficient to kill the tortoise. For the anaconda, this was simply natural behavior. Bella had done nothing wrong. She was just being a snake, an apex predator, doing what evolution had designed her to do. But the tortoise's shell, unlike the bones and soft tissue that anacondas normally digest, was proving impossible for the snake's digestive system to break down. It had lodged in her stomach, creating the dangerous blockage that had brought the whole situation to light. Confronted with the damning time-stamped video evidence that showed his failures in clear, undeniable detail, the senior keeper, Tom Bradley, broke down completely and confessed everything. His motive was not malicious or intentional. It was pathetically mundane and preventable. He had been in a hurry to leave early on that Friday evening to meet friends for a movie. In his rush to get out of the zoo and start his weekend, he had failed to follow the strict life-or-death safety protocols that had been drilled into him for years of training. His confession sealed his fate. The zoo director, his face a mask of barely controlled fury and disappointment, immediately terminated Bradley's employment. There would be no second chances, no possibility of redemption. Bradley was escorted from the premises by security within the hour. But the consequences did not end there. The zoo director called the police, and Bradley was arrested that same day. He faced a series of serious criminal charges, including gross criminal negligence, contributing to the death of a critically endangered species, and filing a false police report. When the tortoise had first been discovered missing, Bradley had filed a report claiming he did not know what had happened to it, omitting his failure to properly secure the enclosures. That false report now added another charge to the growing list. The legal system would now decide Bradley's fate. But regardless of what happened in court, his career in animal care was finished. No zoo, aquarium, or wildlife facility would ever hire him again after such a devastating failure. While the human was unfolding in offices and interrogation rooms, a medical was beginning back at the veterinary hospital. The dead tortoise and its incredibly hard shell now posed a massive threat to the anaconda, Bella. A snake's digestive system, while remarkably powerful and capable of breaking down bones, fur, and even teeth, is not designed to handle a large solid object like a tortoise shell. The shell could cause a fatal impaction, blocking the snake's digestive tract completely. Dr. Mitchell and her team had no choice. They had to perform an emergency to remove the tortoise manually. This was operating on an 18-foot, 500-pound anaconda, carried enormous risks at every stage of the procedure. The team of veterinarians and technicians spent hours preparing for the surgery. When the tortoise shell finally emerged, covered in digestive fluids, a wave of relief swept through the surgical team. The most dangerous part was over. Throughout the entire procedure, which lasted more than 4 hours, Bella's vital signs remained relatively stable. The surgery was a success. Bella, the anaconda, would survive this ordeal, though she would need weeks of recovery and careful monitoring. As for Tom Bradley, he faced serious consequences for his actions that would affect the rest of his life. The case drew significant media attention, with news outlets reporting on the shocking incident at the zoo. Animal rights groups called for harsh penalties, arguing that anyone entrusted with the care of rare and endangered species must be held to the highest standards of responsibility. When the case went to court, Bradley pleaded guilty to all charges. He expressed remorse and apologized publicly, but the damage was done. The judge sentenced him to pay a substantial fine, tens of thousands of dollars, money that Bradley struggled to raise. He was also ordered to perform hundreds of hours of community service at a wildlife conservation center, working under strict supervision. He lost his job and his reputation in the field he had devoted his career to, all because he had been in a hurry to leave work early and see a movie with his friends. The zoo itself faced consequences as well. A full investigation by state wildlife authorities revealed that while Bradley's negligence was the direct cause of the incident, the zoo's oversight procedures had also failed. How had no one noticed the improperly secured locks during nightly security rounds? Why had the morning staff not discovered the problem when they arrived the next day? The zoo was fined and required to implement new safety protocols, including additional security checks and mandatory double verification of all enclosure locks. The loss of the radiated tortoise was a blow to the international breeding program. The individual animal could not be replaced. However, the zoo's remaining 4 radiated tortoises continued to thrive under enhanced security measures. The incident served as a wake-up call for zoos across the country, many of which reviewed and strengthened their own safety protocols in response. As for Bella, the massive anaconda recovered fully from her surgery over the following weeks. The incision healed cleanly, and she eventually regained her appetite, eating normally once again. She would live for many more years at the zoo, though the staff would forever remember her as the snake whose refusal to eat exposed one of the most shocking cases of negligence in the facility's history. This incredible true story reveals several critical lessons about animal care, personal responsibility, and the consequences of cutting corners. The first and most obvious lesson is that safety protocols exist for vital reasons. They are not arbitrary rules meant to slow down workers or make jobs more difficult. They are carefully designed systems meant to protect both animals and people from exactly the kind of tragedy that occurred at the Riverside Zoo. Tom Bradley had followed those protocols correctly for years. He knew how important they were. But on one Friday evening, he decided that saving a few minutes was worth the risk of skipping proper procedures. That single decision cost an endangered animal its life, nearly killed another animal, destroyed his career, resulted in criminal charges, and brought shame to an institution that had worked for decades to build a reputation for excellent animal care. The second lesson is about the interconnected nature of zoo ecosystems. Every animal in a zoo depends on human beings to keep them safe. They cannot lock their own doors or escape from dangerous situations. When we take on the responsibility of caring for wild animals in captivity, we accept an enormous burden of care. These animals trust us completely, and that trust must never be betrayed through carelessness or negligence. The third lesson involves the plight of endangered species. The radiated tortoise that died in this incident was one of only thousands remaining in the world. Every single individual represents an irreplaceable genetic link to the species' future survival. When we lose one of these animals through human negligence, we are not just losing one tortoise. We are potentially losing genetic diversity that could be crucial to saving the entire species from extinction. This story serves as a powerful reminder to everyone who works with animals, whether in zoos, veterinary clinics, or any other setting. Every protocol matters. Every lock must be checked. Every procedure must be followed completely. Every single time, without exception. The animals in our care deserve nothing less than our absolute best effort and attention at all times. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming journeys. And if you like to explore more fascinating stories, check out my video about a story of welder working on an oil rig who faced something he couldn't explain. Something capable of changing shape, color, and even paralyzing him without any tentacles touching him. Click on the card shown on the screen now. Enjoy the video.